Hi everyone, I'm Jared from Project X, and today we're going to show you how to install a pair of HP85 lights on the front of your 21 Plus Bronco using our new modular bumper brackets. Now this setup is our easiest setup to install from Project X, as you don't need to remove the bumper. You're just going to be removing the 4 bolts on each side and bolting this bracket straight to the bumper. So really should only take you less than 30 minutes for this part of the install, less than an hour probably overall. To start off today, we're going to start unboxing these two HP85s so we can give you the features and benefits of these lights, and then we'll get into the installation of the brackets. So first you'll see installation instructions and specifications for the light, all decal packages, stuff that you won't need for this specific install, but the wiring diagram, how to remove the trim rings, all the hardware inside, etc. Once you get inside, you'll see the light packaged with the shrink wrap on the lens cover to protect it. So we'll take this light out. Underneath it, you'll see some other items that we'll have required for today. So the hardware pack, the optional trim color rings, and then a pigtail, which we also won't use today. Inside the hardware pack, there's going to be 2 items that we're going to be reusing today. Just the tools. So the tools required, you're going to have a small security Torx, which will be used if you want to change the coloring, and then a large security Torx, which we'll use to remove the light from the mount. The rest of this hardware will not be used in today's installation. In addition to the 2 safety Torx that we just talked about, you're going to need a flat blade screwdriver, a Torx 40 IP bit, a socket wrench, and an extension. To be specific with this is not a standard Torx. It's a Torx IP, which has a rounded edge. This is for the Bronco bolts. If you use a normal Torx wrench, you may end up rounding it. So you can use the one that's inside your toolkit, or just look for a Torx IP bit set. It's helpful to have for your Ford Bronco. So as a quick side-by-side today, as we are doing this installation on the bracket, I want to call out a couple of features on the stock bracket, which you can see it has this adjustment knob for adjusting the tilt on the light. This is a feature that we wanted to maintain, so when you do move over to our bracket for your modular bumper, it still retains those features. So you won't be losing out any functionality when you make this change. Now that you have the HP85 out of the box, you'll see it actually comes with a mount already installed. And it's a great mount, cast metal. It has this adjustment knob here with the grooves so that you can adjust the tilt. But as it sits, it won't fit on your 2021 Plus Ford Bronco modular bumper. So again, we have our bracket here that we're going to put this on. It retains the same features with the adjustment knob, and it will come with the holes here that you'll be able to put directly onto the modular bumper bolts, and it'll just shift the light forward a little bit so you'll be able to bolt it directly on. The first step of disassembly of the light is we're going to remove the knob and the long bolt that goes through the center. So you just want to be careful to make sure that you don't lose the washer that's right here, as it's important to retain this later, otherwise you won't be able to tighten the knob all the way down. This one will just slide right out the other side. There's also going to be this interior crush tube, and then 2 little washers that are inset into that you want to make sure that you retain. Once that's out, we're going to use our large security Torx and loosen up these bolts on both sides. Now you want to be careful after you remove this secondary bolt, because now the light is free from the mount itself. So just carefully remove it and you can set it aside. Okay, so the next step is we're going to be removing these spacers here from the stock mount. On each side there's a washer and a urethane grommet in here that we're going to retain. This is important. It helps space the light and help with NVH, noise, vibration, harshness, and just keep the light tight. So you're going to take your flat blade screwdriver, you're going to get in there and push it out. Pretty easy. Then from this side, make sure you push that rubber grommet out. And be careful again, there's a washer on the outside, so from each side you'll see the 3 pieces that you're going to need to get out and retain. Now the bracket is totally clean, everything's removed from it, so we'll be able to move on to installing the HP85 on the new mount. So once you have your pieces out, you're going to take this spacer and you're going to put it from the inside. Then you're going to take your rubber bushing, place it like that, and you're good to go. You'll reuse this once you get the light installed. As simple as that. Next, we're going to take the light. Make sure that this is still intact. Sometimes it could fall out, get loose when you're taking it out of the stock bracket, but make sure that the crush tube is in here with that rubber bushing with the spacer, otherwise it won't be able to tighten correctly. So once this is together, we're just going to slide the light in here. The fitment should be pretty much perfect. You shouldn't have any issues. You're going to take your bolt, reinstall the washer on it, and then just loosely tighten it into the light. And then we're going to repeat that process on the other side. We're going to take this longer bolt that goes through and put it on here. You're going to take the washer on the other side and the knob for the other side installation. Now it's important that with the two lights, you want these to be set up opposite. So on one side, you're going to want the knob facing that way, and on the other side, you want the knob facing that way. That's because if you have any other accessories like a winch or anything like that, you're going to want to be able to get the adjustment from the outside. Tilt the light a little bit just to get the rod in there, and you can see it's actually got a little square in there. Make sure that it is flush inside the groove. So now on this side, we're going to reinstall the washer. It's super important that you put this washer back on here. Otherwise, once you install the knob, it won't be able to tighten all the way without the washer, and the light will move and this knob will probably fall off. So now it's loosely installed. We can tighten these up. The top bolts need to be snug, but not overly tight. Remember that the knob down here needs to be able to adjust the lights. These bolts need to be snug, tight, but not too tight, otherwise the light won't be able to tilt. So now that these are tight, we'll hand snug this down. You'll be able to feel it tightening. If it doesn't tighten all the way, you need to make sure that the washer is there. Also, again, make sure that this is sitting snug inside the groove. Now, at this time, if you wish to change the rings to an optional color, this is a good time to do it. It's super easy. We're just going to remove the lens cover, which pops right off. And then on the bezel, you'll see that there's these 5 bolts here that we're going to use our small security Torx to remove. Once you remove them, you'll see the inner black bezel here will just pop right off. This is functioned only to remove this cosmetic part. The light is sealed underneath, so you won't have to worry about voiding your warranty or anything like that by disassembling this part of the light. Now that all the screws are removed, this bezel will just lift right off. You'll see the inner color trim ring will just also pop right off. And as I mentioned, you'll see the light has a secondary set of screws. It's fully sealed underneath, so you don't have to worry about damaging the light by removing these outer trim screws, and it's still fully sealed underneath. This time you can pick whatever trim ring you want. It's keyed, so it only goes on one way. You can see the bottom part has like the tooling ridges, the top part's smooth. The bottom's gonna have this flat ring that goes around the DRL on the light, and you can see how the larger bolts on the inside, it sits around and the screw holes inlay perfectly. So it's keyed, and there's only one way you can put it on. You know, again, you can't mess it up. Once you just set it on there, take your bezel back, set it on there, and line it up with the holes, and start reinstalling the bolts, the security bolts from the top. Okay, now there isn't a torque spec on these bolts. You just need to put them in there. You don't need to use Loctite or anything like that. Definitely don't impact them. Just hand tighten them with your tool, and that's enough. You'll see there won't be any movement. It's not going to come off. Once that's done, reinstall your lens cover. Also, when installing this, you can see that these are keyed to the bolts on the top, so you'll know exactly how it sits on there right. Now that one's complete, we're going to do this process on another light and have it ready to go for the next step of install. All right, so now we have both of the lights assembled, and as we mentioned, we're going to put the adjustment knobs on opposite sides, and that's because you want those facing towards the outside of the vehicle, making it a little bit easier in case you have any accessories in the middle, like a winch, to just get your hand in there to do the tilt adjustment when needed. For our install, we're going to make this a little bit easier. Now these lights you can use with any switch system. It will not work with your upfitter switches without a relay setup just because of the power draw. So we are using our Project X Ghost box, and then we're also going to use our plug and play harness. So this harness will have both plugs for the back of the lights, and it is preset with the ring terminals and everything to bolt right into your Ghost box plug and play, no cutting or trimming, no splicing, anything needed, completely plug and play. So to make today's installation easy, we're going to be connecting these to our Bronco using our Ghostbox wireless accessory control system. And here you see our Ghostbox module with the lid removed. We're also using our Project X Y harness, which are now available. The great thing about this is it's going to make this whole thing plug and play. So it's going to have your DT connectors to plug into the back of your light, which will feature your positive, negative, and your third one to power your DRL. So these two will then bolt directly into your Ghostbox. They already come with the little seals that will keep your Ghostbox weather protected and the ring terminal. So there will be no cutting, no splicing, no trimming, no nothing. All you're gonna do is plug in the back of your light and then screw it in your Ghostbox, and it'll sync wirelessly into your system. All right, before we start the installation of the brackets themselves, we're gonna go ahead and install our Ghostbox and our wiring harness and route that real quick. As with any install, make sure you disconnect your battery before you start so that you don't have any chance of running any circuits or electrocuting yourself. All right, for the next step of the installation, come into our modular bumper. We've already pre-ran our harness, which is, you can do it a variety of ways that you want. We prefer to just kind of snake it in between here, and you can run it up the fender liner to wherever your switch box connection is. But the driver's side is generally where you're gonna want it, even if you're using your aux. Next, we're gonna remove these 4 bolts on each side. These are the Bronco bolts, the Torx IP40 bolts. So we're gonna use our impact right now to get these off. Take just a second here. And now you'll be ready to install the light bracket. Now when you install these, remember you want the light that has the knob facing outward on it. I would take the light and probably pre-click in your Deutsch plug into it starting. Make sure it's lined up and soft thread these bolts in. Make sure you get all of them in and lined up before you torque them down. If it helps during the install, you can adjust the tilt on the light to get easier access to the bolts on the back side of the mount. Again, the fitment is really good on these, so you shouldn't be struggling with this at all. You should be able to pretty easily finger tight most of these down for the final torque installation on this. So for the front bolts, we're just going to use our impact here. Now for the rear, it's going to be a little tougher to get in here, so this is where we're going to use an extension to reach these rear bolts. All right, so now with the extension, we're able to get to the back side of this. We're using an impact. You can use a hand ratchet if needed. Now the only thing you want to make sure is that the ratchet or the bit are not touching your lower fascia where you could get it scratched. So if you need to, you can put some painter's tape or something on it to protect it. That's it. Now this light's good to go. We're just going to tighten this adjustment knob. So now the light's on. Just want to make sure that your adjustment knob is tightened, all of your bolts here are tightened, and you're ready to go. Now we're just going to repeat this on the opposite side. All right, so now our installation is complete. Any final adjustments you need to do as far as the tilt with the knobs to get your lights angled, this is when you want to do it. Also, we have any of the accessories that you saw today, the wiring harness, the Ghostbox on our website, along with blackout covers, and we will have the amber covers available shortly. If you're interested in this video, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and see what other products we have available for your vehicle.